From the dark days of one-night tournaments, bare-knuckle fighting, being banned from pay-per-view, and overall being in the midst of obscurity, MMA and the UFC's popularity has rocketed to prominence in the world of combat sports since airing the first season of The Ultimate Fighter way back in January of 2005. Boxing has always been at the forefront of prize fighting, but MMA's popularity has continued to develop and grow in the modern day thanks to the UFC's ability to promote its brand. That has also helped bring attention to many high-profile UFC fighters over the years, with the abundance of combatants boosting their promotional value and stature with their skills and fan influence. My name is Rob from Up Next MMA. Today we'll be diving into the top 10 most famous UFC fighters. This video in particular will focus on 4 of these fighters. These fighters are in no particular order. We're just going based off fan reactions, a few numbers, as well as how much they've been able to influence the sport. These are the most established and widely recognizable names in MMA, as well as entered the UFC cage. So let's get into it. Alright, let's start with the obvious and most well-known UFC fighter. Irishman Conor McGregor is undoubtedly the most famous and marketable fighter on the UFC's roster, and arguably in MMA history. Notorious stormed onto the scene in the UFC back in 2013 and immediately made a huge impact with his eye-catching knockout victories over Marcus Brimage, Dustin Poirier, Dennis Seaver in the octagon, and his eccentric nature outside the octagon as well, with his flashy clothes, his sometimes disrespectful rhetoric. He grabbed attention. He grabbed a lot of attention. McGregor has gone on to make history, becoming the first fighter in UFC history to hold titles in 2 divisions simultaneously, with his knockout wins over featherweight legend Jose Aldo and former Bellator and UFC champ Eddie Alvarez. Conor headlined 5 out of the organization's 6 top-selling pay-per-view events, and being the first UFC fighter to co-promote a boxing event as well. He made $100 million fighting Floyd Mayweather, by the way, so please check out our last video if you want a breakdown of how all that compensation and money went around. Even with the losses to Khabib Nurmagomedov and Nate Diaz, Conor has still proven to be the top draw in combat sports. He is currently still the highest paid fighter on the UFC roster. Speaking of Conor's biggest rival, that brings us to our next fighter, Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz, little brother of MMA legend Nick Diaz, was always known for his rugged and street edge that he had to him. He never backs down from a fight and always keeps it real. He was always an exciting fighter with his victories over Donald Cowboy Cerrone, Gray Maynard, Jim Miller, Michael Johnson, former lightweight champion Anthony Pettis, and, of course, Conor McGregor. Speaking of Conor, Nate's own rhetoric and style led to him getting a shot at Conor McGregor in March of 2016 at UFC 196. Nate took the fight with Conor as a replacement for then lightweight champion Rafael dos Anjos on only 11 days' notice. Nate went on to win the fight via submission in the 2nd round and handed Conor the first loss of his UFC career. This was a huge upset at the time, and Nate became a star overnight. McGregor would go on to win the rematch in an absolute classic at UFC 202 in August of that same year, but the fan base of Nate Diaz stayed strong for years after. It showed when he came back to fight Anthony Pettis at UFC 241. And to fight Jorge Masvidal at UFC 244. His fight with Jorge Masvidal broke records for ESPN Plus and showed Nate Diaz is in fact a needle mover, at least according to Dana White. Like his brother, Nate has carved out a unique staple for himself in the sport of MMA and is forever loved by fans. Some would call him the Stockton legend. However, let's talk about another street legend though, Jorge Masvidal. According to Israel Adesanya, aka Street Jesus, aka Cuban Jesus, Jorge has been fighting for quite some time, originally in the backyards of Miami, Florida with Kimbo Slice, to Strikeforce fighting lightweight legend Gilbert Melendez for the title, on to the UFC and becoming a knockout artist in the welterweight division. Jorge has stormed into popularity only over the past year or so, with knockout wins over Darren Till and Ben Askren. It was his 5-second flying knee knockout of Ben Askren that really made him a famous staple for not only the UFC fans, but for casual fans as well. Simply because the knockout went viral. It was replayed on ESPN's Top 10 and UFC replays for weeks. His popularity soared again when he fought Nate Diaz 3 months later in November of 2019. Jorge has always had a realness about him, as well as violence that he brings to the octagon that's always made him an entertaining fighter to watch. Even when he was not the most popular fighter on the UFC roster, he was still always very entertaining. Jorge Masvidal had a slow rise to fame, but he's reaping the benefits now, with record paydays as well as TV appearances, his own YouTube channel. He's really begun to transcend to the casual fans. Another fighter who's had a slow rise to fame is none other than the Dagestani himself, Khabib Nurmagomedov. The Russian wrestling king Khabib has earned his reputation as being a dominant and straight-talking champion within the past few years. Being a superstar in his native homeland of Dagestan, and due to his strong religious beliefs, Khabib has gained a massive following during his lightweight reign at the top of the UFC. His claim to fame amongst fans was with his victory over, of course, Conor McGregor. This rocketed his stature along with his subsequent win over longtime lightweight standout Dustin Poirier. Khabib has the potential to go down as one of the most dominant fighters in UFC history with a record 28 wins and no losses. His dominance over opponents is none that we've ever seen before. He delivers damage and makes his opponents want to quit. Very few fighters have been able to exact the level of dominance and damage that Khabib has on his opponents. However, of those very few fighters, there's one other I'd like to talk about as well, Mr. Anderson Silva. Now, because I don't want this video to run too long, we're gonna cut it off here. We'll get into Anderson Silva's fame along with a few others in the next video, and I think it's one that a lot of you OG MMA fans like me will really enjoy. Anyways, that's it for today's video. We covered 4 out of our top 10 list of famous UFC fighters. Be sure to tune into our next video. If you all are new here, please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and smash the notification bell so you know whenever a new video is coming out. We have 3 new videos for you every single week, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching until the end. Let me know what you guys think or your overall thoughts about, the most popular who you think the most popular UFC fighters are right now. What do you think about Conor and how his fame has affected the sport? What about other famous veteran fighters like Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal? What about Khabib? Let me know. I love to talk to you guys. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye bye.